Guys, we've been so busy here at Lily Brook between weeding and planting and mulching, and also adding new spaces here in our gardens. And I can't wait to share our progress with you today. Welcome to Lily Brook. The first garden I'd like to show you is the circle garden. And I'm growing lots of hydrangeas here, as you can see. And then in front of the porch, we have our terraces. And all of the perennials have started to make their appearance. I've got lots of different types of lilies because this is Lily Brook. We've also put in our annuals and mulched. You can see I put some snapdragons in here and some supertunias. This is a plant that I'm nursing back to health. This is a weeping willow, and I got it on the, for the Island of Misfit Toys, the bargain basement, and it was in pretty sad shape, as you can see, but look at all that new growth. So I just have that hanging out here for right now, because I just watered it. But over here, I have a black-eyed Susan vine that I'm growing up this trellis. As we walk down the brick pathway, here is the next terrace garden. Guys, check out this beautiful African lily. Isn't that exquisite? I think that's so pretty. Of course, my coneflowers are coming back up. I've got cosmos planted in here. I've got delphiniums, and I have hollyhocks hiding in the back there. Can't wait till those bloom. They're a cottage garden favorite of mine. This part of the terraces, I have a giant hosta, some coleus I've planted, and these get huge. So that's why there's only two, and they look kind of empty right there, but trust me, they'll fill in, and yeah, they'll be massive. More hydrangeas. I love hydrangeas, I must admit. And then I have some phlox just starting to open. If we go down to the next tier of the terraces, I have some tick seed planted. There's dianthesis that's still blooming. I've got these dwarf butterfly bushes, which I love these. Because the porch is right here, we get to see all the butterflies and dragonflies so close to us when we're relaxing on the porch. We just love having those bushes there. All along our deck, we have boxwoods. We love those because they create winter interest. I have one boxwood that didn't green up and looks really sad, so that one we're going to have to replace. And this year, I planted all these black-eyed Susans in my greenhouse. They're doing really wonderfully because I want black-eyed Susans all the way around the deck. I started off with them just around this side of the deck, and I love them so much. They have such a beautiful show from, I'd say, the third week of June all the way through fall. I just wanted them to be all the way around because I think they're going to be glorious. So guys, we bring out our tropicals from the greenhouse in the summer. These guys we're nursing back to health. You can see they're huge, but we had a freeze in our greenhouse. Our heat went out one night and we didn't realize it. So when we woke up in the morning, there was frost on the inside of the greenhouse, and they survived. Our palms survived, but they don't look as nice as they normally do, but they look better than they did. So we're nursing them back to health, and they are huge. So we hate to lose them. We've had them for several years. So I'm hopeful that they'll make a full recovery. And we've since then added a second heat source just in case there's an emergency like that again. This is our deck space, or to Jackson, it's where you ride your bicycle around and around and around and around. We spend a lot of time here too. This overlooks our sunken garden. And in the back, you can see our labyrinth and also a spot for Jackson to play, because this garden is for our entire family. This garden over here we call Lower Garden, and we have lots of roses planted there. We also have this tree that needs a trim very badly. There's always something to do in the garden, and obviously this tree is very happy because it has gotten massive since last year when we trimmed it, so it does need a trim again. At one point, I actually could walk through here. Now it's a little bit more like a jungle, but I wanted to show you all the roses in bloom in this garden because they are exquisite. These peach-colored roses are so pretty. I have another black-eyed Susan vine I'm going to be planting here. Baptista is in bloom. So pretty. And check out all these roses in bloom. The first flush of roses. So guys, let's go check out the sunken garden and I can show you what's in bloom there. Check out these honeysuckle, guys. This brings in the hummingbirds like you wouldn't believe, but you need to keep it in a place that's controlled because as you can see, it likes to take over. So you have to keep it in control, and I suggest planting it somewhere where you could put it in a raised bed or something like we have in the sunken garden, because you will be cutting it back a lot. Over here I have some gorgeous climbing roses blooming for the first time. And as you can see, Dan is busy setting up the watering system because we did just plant up this garden. So he is installing the watering system over here in Hillside. Check out that gorgeous bloom. It smells incredible down here, guys. Absolutely incredible. So on this side, you can see we have the honeysuckle, all climbing roses over here. I just love that they've climbed up over my head. It just makes you feel like the sunken garden has swallowed you. And that is exactly what I was hoping for in this garden space. Over here we have some more honeysuckle. And these blooms are this deep red color. The hummingbirds love that. You can see all the roses we have in bloom here. Just beautiful. So I have a rose that I saved, like my little willow tree over there. I trimmed it up quite a bit, and I transplanted it here. But guys, look, it's blooming. And I just want to show you, look at the color of that rose. Isn't that incredible? I think they are so beautiful. And of course, if you watch the Through the Garden Gate gardening show that we film every week, you'll know that I planted this climbing rose here in episode 1, and she's looking very happy with her life, which makes me happy. And this is my pride and joy. This is my David Austin. And honestly, I don't know which climber it is. I left the tag on it, but the tag, guys, is somewhere in that jungle. And I trimmed this up in the early part of spring, and this is how massive it is again. Crazy, right? But so beautiful. Oh my gosh. And it smells so amazing. This side of the sunken garden gets less sun. So I have a hydrangea over here that's loving its life. And that's the sunken garden in June. Here is how the Topiary Garden is shaping up for the summer of 2025. And guys, I just want to mention that I live in a town, so I have 7 acres here. But our streets sometimes can be busy. So especially during the day or as the kids are getting home from school, you may hear traffic, and I can't do anything about that on my videos. But I just wanted to tell you that, we don't live way out on the country, so it is what it is. But we love our town. It's full of nice people, and it's a wonderful place to live. So that's kind of the sacrifice we make for sometimes hearing street noise. But this is why we've also put in lots of water features, so we can really be in our garden zone when we're back here. But when you're near the fence, sometimes you do hear it. Anyway, on to the Topiary Garden. We just planted this 3rd ring at the beginning of spring. So we'll see how close together those grow. You can see how quickly ring number 1 and 2 grew together, because this garden is not very old. It's 2 years old, I believe. I'll have to look back through my photos, but I believe it's only 2 years old. We just trimmed up the 1st and 2nd ring here so that it looks all nice and pretty, mulched it, and put in oxeye daisies, which look very happy. I'm excited about that. So oxeye daisies can tolerate part sun, and this has changing light situations throughout the day, which is why the hydrangeas do very well. We get a lot of morning sun on one side, and then more shade in the afternoon, and on the other side you have more shade in the morning and more sun in the afternoon. So I think the oxeye daisies will be just fine here, and I'm excited to see how well they do this year. Over here, guys, is our shade garden, and I'm really happy with how this turned out this year. You can see our rhododendrons are all in bloom, but this shade garden really has my heart this year. I love all the different colors of green and how filled in and beautiful it looks, especially with the dark mulch down. I'm just really loving this. And by the way, those are my kitchen windows, so this is what I can look out and see. Let's head over to Hillside. So if you missed it, guys, this is a newish garden. So when I say that, what I mean is that we tried to make this into a garden last year. We put wildflowers here. It was a giant weedy mess. It was just full of weeds and brambles and everything by the end of the year. It got out of hand. And so Dan and I decided this is a huge garden space, absolutely huge. So Dan and I decided we were going to lay down thick fabric weed control, and we were going to mulch this area, and then we were going to put in lots of flowering shrubs. And you can see some of them we planted last year. These are Rose of Sharon's, and some of them are in bloom. They're quite beautiful. So we planted a bunch more of those in here. There's some lavender in here, which is already blooming. smells incredible. And as I said, Dan is working out the watering system right now as I'm making this video. We have some daisies and coneflowers in here from last year, but what we planted was a bunch more rows of Sharons, reblooming lilacs, and some other shrubs and bushes in here, viburnum and things. This is a large hill as well, so it's totally a pain to mow this space. We wanted to eliminate mowing. And this space leads over to the walled garden. The walled garden is nowhere near done, guys, like nowhere near done. This is our big gardening project this year. And so far we've laid down this Alice in Wonderland walkway, built the structure, we did that, and we planted up garden room number 1. Everything in here is looking really healthy and lovely. Look at these flax, so pretty. I mosaicked that, guys. It was one of the first things I ever mosaicked. It's not perfect, but I think it's cute. Of course, I've got some begonias in here, clematis, and look at this, guys. Look at that hydrangea. Look at the colors. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. And that is a huge hosta back there. It's actually got a bloom on it. You can see some ivy is growing up the walls, which is exactly what we want. We need to plant way more of this because we want all of these walls to be green, and they will be. And that's kind of where it stops, guys. I did plant some wisteria in here. Again, this is a completely unfinished project. Actually, the wisteria is almost done blooming. But you can see I have some wisteria because I want this whole center section to be planted up with wisteria. So we're going to do like an arbor over the entire room and have wisteria blooming. And then in the center, we're going to have a water feature. So let's head over to the potager. The other thing I wanted to mention was when Dan and I bought this property 5 years ago, there wasn't a single flower on it other than a couple of those rhododendron bushes. Every other garden we have added ourselves and DIY'd it and figured it out and built it. The main features we loved about this place was the historic 1803 home, the pond on the property and surrounding acreage, and the fact that this was a blank slate, guys. And if you're wondering what these are, they're called deer enforcers. They are wonderful for keeping the deer and wildlife from eating all of the flowers in my gardens. They just hook up to a hose, guys. And how they work is they are motion censored. And so when the deer come up too close, they just spray them with water. So they're harmless. You know, they make like a noise. So it just, scares them off. They don't get hurt and my flowers don't get eaten. So it works out for everyone. And here is the potager. This garden is a work in progress and we've almost got it finished. But I wanted to show you guys the moon gate. Aren't these roses incredible? These roses look like they glow. Dan and I have spent the last few weeks just making this garden workable and nice looking and not full of weeds. So you can see that Dan built the beds up so the dogs couldn't get in and destroy all of our cut flowers and veggies. And then over here, I wanted to show you guys the new little fence we picked up, this little antique fence. And we got enough to do both of the stone beds, so it'll keep the dogs out, and I think it looks really cute as well. Here's my vegetables, just waiting to be planted. But I was waiting for the beds to be done and for it to stop raining. We've gotten so much rain, so this project seemed to like it took forever. I have begun planting up my cut flowers. So I've got cosmos in here and I've got zinnias. There you have it, guys, our June garden tour. You know, in June, so much changes in the garden. I may do a second garden tour this month just to show you how much our gardens fill in. I know our gardens are not perfect, and I'm okay with that. None of us are perfect. And we have to just find the beauty in the imperfections. Everything's still a work in progress here, and I just see it getting better and better each gardening season. Guys, thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate you. I hope you'll check out some of our other videos on our Lily Brook channel. We've done things like transforming our broken pool into a sunken garden. We have our Through the Garden Gate episodes where you can see what we're doing in our gardens each week. So we have a lot to check out. And I hope you'll consider becoming one of the subscribers here because I would love to be gardening friends. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.